level. Let's get it. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. Yeah. Main crew say they weed it. Kicking down the door. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. What? Main crew say they weed it. Kicking down the door. Let's go. And it's the whole lane when I'm driving the machine.
What is going on? It is Heavy Pour Sports, late night Wednesday, and we might be in a dead period when it comes to the big sports, but we got some stuff to recap. NBA, UFC, Whitehouse, Freedom 250, one hell of a card. Brennan Sorsby in Texas Tech getting absolutely bullied at playing college football, and we'll just go full on to the crew. Gents, I don't know what happened to T. He was in the room, now he's out of the room. But I'm sure he'll jump back in here. We'll start off though. Drew, you had a good night Sunday, 6 of 7, I think. You were holding down the keys on the Heavy Pour Sports account. What'd you think about the card in general and the spectacle that was UFC Whitehouse?
Yeah, just for me, like as a fight fan, I've been deep into the UFC for like 7 years, and for me, the card had nothing to do like politically. I know that's a, huge discussion or whatever, but for me, it was just about like the UFC and how cool it was. Like it was so unique to just, I've seen some cool UFC cards, the Sphere, all those things, but for it to be at the White House, that was crazy. The card absolutely delivered. I mean, 7 finishes, multiple first round finishes, a couple early second round finishes. It was insane. The walkouts were crazy. Gaethje's walkout was insane. Reading the Declaration of Independence right when the camera panned to him, his walkout was awesome. Coming out to Johnny Cash, that was dope. But the whole card was crazy. The flyover, the fights, and I can't remember, but I think we all called it that Justin Gaethje, something about it. Divine intervention, the upset was going to happen, and he did it, and did it in a just incredible performance. But yeah, my Sunday night was great. It was a little later than I expected, but that's what happens in a fight game, especially a card like that. But just as a fight fan, for me, I couldn't complain about anything. It was awesome.
Yeah, we got one heck of a card. There was only a couple duds, unfortunately. The Holkett fight. Did you call that one? Did you think he was going to win? I can't remember.
Yeah,
okay.
there was a couple. There was a couple dud individual performances, but the performances, the fights in general weren't really duds because the wins, the guys who won, they had spectacular performances. It's just some of the fighters didn't show up, didn't fight their best. 2 in particular, Derek Lewis and Michael Chandler. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that. Derek Lewis thought he would step up in the moment, it being the place, the location, who was all in attendance, and he just seemed not motivated to be there from the jump. But not one of the ones I was super bought into, to be honest. I know for me, bless you. For me, it was Sugar Sean got his W in a knockout fashion. So, he's back feeling good. And then, Gaethje. Hammer, we were watching that thing live, and through round 1, it looked like that thing was over. Took a shot to the liver. Tapoya was doing his thing. But, man, Gaethje is a dog. That's when tough son of the gun. He outlasted, countered the armbar, countered the triangle, got out of the round, and then took to wearing out Tapoya, just tearing his face up. And that knee to end the 4th, we said it live right before it happened. No way this goes into a 5th round. His body or his mind went in no part of another 5 minutes with Gaethje. But what do you think about the card overall, Hammer?
I thought it was a good card. There weren't necessarily great fights every time, but it is the first time, and when you think about this, it's kind of crazy. UFC history that we've had every fight on the card end with a knockout. So kind of an appropriate time for that to happen, I suppose, under the conditions that this event was held. But, yeah, you could almost see Tapoya's soul leave his body when that knee landed, because that was that sucker went in deep. You watch the slow motion replay of that, and it looked like half of Gaethje's leg was inside that man's torso. So it was a lot of fun to watch because it had a little bit of everything. And like you said, when Gaethje was on the mat and it looked like, we thought it was over. We thought either the arm bar, a rear naked, a Darce, something was coming because they were both gassed. But I felt like Topuria got full mount, and then Gaethje gave up his back to get out of that. So it's really looked like it was disaster coming for Gaethje. But man, like we said, that dude is just double tough. Just refused to give up, refused to lay down, and came back in a flurry and just absolutely decimated.
Yeah,
so,
I tweeted.
He really did what he needed to do, right? Like take Topuria out to the deep end of the pool and just drown him. Like take him to a spot he had never been before because he's used to finishing fights early, completely dominating. And once he got through into that third round, you could tell like, I'm not sure if I've been here before, especially not a dude like this, not against a guy like Gaethje.
And I feel like Topuria won the first round because he was so precise with his strikes and had a massive advantage on significant strikes. Body shots, he rocked his liver a time or two that just, you could tell it really had an effect on him. But for Gaethje to reach deep down and overcome that, and he was a massive underdog coming into the fight. But all four of us.
50, I think it was when the fight started, something like that.
He was still like plus 350 or something at the start. So it was pretty significant underdog. A lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to hang, but the four wise men sitting here, he included, all called Gaethje. So
that's right. That was our one gut call that turned out for us. But you were getting ready to say something, Drew.
Yeah, I was just going to say I tweeted about it. I think it was I believe it was after the third round, if I'm not mistaken. I had a 2-1 Gaethje. And I actually kind of had the third round. It didn't get scored as it, but I kind of had the third round as a 10-8. The second round could have been a 10-8 for Topuria, though. But I tweeted it out. I said, the experience of wars is coming out. Gaethje has been in wars. Topuria has never been in a war. And I think that was just a difference in the fight. Like, Gaethje, even through all the body shots and the submission attempts, all those things, he was still taking big shots to the head, and it was not affecting him. He was ducking his head. He was throwing overhands, staying with the uppercut that was nasty all night. You just saw it. Gaethje never panicked. He never got scared. Yeah, he almost got finished multiple times in that second round, but he never panicked or got away from who Justin Gaethje is. And back to my tweet, I just said this is the experience of wars. Gaethje has been there. Topuria has never been there. And that was to me, that was the difference in the fight.
Yeah, for sure. T, did you catch any of it all?
No.
What about the highlights?
No.
Catch any of the other clips? No? Well, I'll tell you, I know you're not a UFC guy, but we highlighted it a lot on the show. No matter how you felt about the event, I felt a certain way about it because of the highlights that the Marine Corps got, man. It was the Marines out there who were part of the walkouts. The President's Own played every single walkout song. We had dudes that were singing, ranging from Johnny Cash to, Hispanic, Latina, bachata music, whatever was playing. Like the whole presence of the band was out there. It was really cool. They got highlighted over and over and over again. Medal of Honor recipients coming out with the walkouts. So that part of it was cool. And you got a great card. The rain delay did keep us up a little bit later. Well, I should say us. I'm West Coast, so I still got to bed at a decent time. But I know Hammer, that 0-4 wake up the following day probably that probably hurt a little bit. And like I said in our group chat, I had enough time to on the show. I said I was going to have one more. I went inside, celebrated with more than one more, and at 1:30 in the morning crawled my dumb tail up to bed. But that was my own fault, not UFC's fault. But good card, and we'll see what is next. I personally think Gaethje needs to hang it up. I know he said he wasn't going to make a decision in the moment. I don't know how you come off that pinnacle of like that spotlight to win that fight as a massive underdog in that venue. If he comes back, the next one's going to be a rematch, which would be an awesome fight. But man, I just think he's 38. He's been doing this thing forever. I know he said himself he's built for this career. Like his body, his mind is built to go to war and fight men, 4 or 5 feet away from him. But how do you beat that moment? Just go out on top, man. Do the John Elway thing, retire on top. The Peyton Manning thing, retire on top, and then walk away. But I just don't know. We still there?
No, you kind of glitched a little bit.
Yeah,
Keep going.
yeah, we are.
I'm used to that being my computer, so it was nice that it was somebody else. Nice that it was somebody else for once.
Well, I was like, I didn't want to cut in just in case he pops back. But
I was just like,
I just realized my dang cord popped out.
Booting me out again.
My Ethernet cord popped out. I'm gonna plug it back in. We're gonna see how this goes. Oh boy. Hopefully we just stay live. But you think he retires? Or you think he keeps going?
I think, man, that's so hard. If I was him, I would retire. He's been an interim champion before. Finally gets an undisputed championship, like you said. Just everything around it, where the card was, beating Ilya, and man, next, like you're gonna fight. You're gonna get the rematch against Taporia. You're gonna fight a up and comer in Arman Sarukian, or just another hungry guy. If I was him, like go out on top with that shiny gold USA, special belt that they made, and go out that way rather than doing it again. Although if he does it again, like sign me up. If I get to watch another Justin Gaethje fight, then I'm not gonna complain. But as a fan of him, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I would appreciate if he just went out after that one. I would be happy for him, and like just to tip your cap to an incredible career and a great fight to finish your career with.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, great UFC. We'll wrap that up. We also wrapped up since our last show the NBA Finals. T, I know you're going to want to talk about this one. The Knicks in 5. You didn't quite make 6, Drew and Hammer. You didn't make 6, but you should have made 6. Probably should have made 7. The way that those things played out. But T put in an interesting stat in our group chat. I think it was 72 or 74% of the 5 games played, the Spurs held the lead, and they win 1 game. And we know we talked about youth the entire, since we had covered since game 1 and how the Spurs had dropped the ball. But it tells me if the players are getting you up, and some of it's coaching, but if the players are getting you up, leading in 70+% of those games, and you lose them, I think you got to point back to Mitch Johnson as really the dude who struggled to close these games out. Yeah, players got to do the thing, but players got you to the lead, and they're managing the game and calling timeouts appropriately or substitutions. Making sure you can preserve those leads is on the coach. I think. Do you guys agree? Do you think it's player youth that lost in the game, coaching, a combination of the two? T, what do you think? Is this more of a Mitch Johnson problem, or is it more of the players on the court problem?
I think you got to spread that blame evenly because on the court they're crumbling, but that's then your job as the coach to catch that and try to do what you can to slow it down. And if at least try, like he didn't even try, right? Like to your point, like call timeout, do something. Because and the other thing is when he would call timeout, I wasn't too impressed. I think we had some beef with some of his play calls coming out of the timeout. But if you make the wrong call, okay, fine. But like at least try something. And he was kind of pulling the Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham used to just stand there with his hands in his pockets and just not do anything. And I guess just hope that LeBron would make it happen. It almost seemed like Mitch Johnson just kind of hoped that Wemby or something would make it happen. So to me, I split the blame 50-50. Professional ball players, they gotta have more composure than to let a team come down from 29. You get boneheaded plays by your veteran point guard, but then the coach does nothing to help his team stop the bleeding. So 50-50 on the blame to me.
Ken, what you think?
No, 100%. I don't think you can point at any one thing or any one person and say that's why the Spurs lost that game or this game or the series, because you had everything from lack of coaching, I feel like at times, to poor coaching, poor play calling, to poor decision making on the floor, to boneheaded play on the floor. So you can't have 20-plus point leads in finals games and not win. That's no one person's fault. As much as we might want to put all the blame on De'Aaron Fox, there were other things that led up to, just like a missed kick in football. Yeah, it's easy to point at the kicker and say, oh, you missed that kick. But there's more times than not, there's always other things that could have been done differently to not be in that position. Aaron Fox missed a shot. Well, they shouldn't have given up a 27-point lead. So, yes, that does fall on Aaron Fox for that part of it, but it wasn't Aaron Fox's fault solely that they got down 30 points. Or, gave up 30 points lead. So, it kind of makes me wonder is how long is Mitch Johnson going to be the coach? Because I just don't see – that organization is extremely well ran, very efficient, and I know they're probably loyal to a fault, maybe like Pittsburgh in the NFL, like they'll stick with their people. But with the talent that's on that team, and that's the other thing, speaking of talent, I meant to say this earlier too, talking about coaching. If we can't get Harper on the floor, then they're never going to win. That is like putting a governor on a Ferrari and trying to go out and race with it. They've got to unlock that kid, and whatever needs to happen, whether it's personnel wise, whether it's scheme, whether it's whatever, it needs to happen. And I don't know, man. I think it's a combination of youth. I think it's a combination of maybe that moment was just too big, and maybe they got there a little sooner than probably what they were ready for, and lack of experience in that situation from a coaching perspective. It's everything. There's nothing you can just point and say, yes, that's the reason they lost the series. And Josh, I see, yes, Fox's missed shot cost them a game. But what about the 20-plus point lead that led up to them being in a position where he had to make that shot?
29. What about the two missed free throws by Wemby on the line?
Two missed free throws by Wemby. I mean, we can point to all
steal
kinds of
Fox
things and say that's what cost them the game, but that's not it. It's a collection of all of the deficiencies that occurred. And this roster's got some deficiencies. As good as Wemby is, as good as Harper is, as good as Castle is, this roster's got some deficiencies. They're going to have to make some moves. They're going to have to get a couple more pieces because the West is absolutely loaded. And I know some of the teams are getting a little aged, but there's still some gorillas in the West that are going to have to be dealt with. And they potentially could go on a 10-year run and be right in the hunt every single year, but they're going to have to make some changes to personnel at every level if they're going to sustain this and go on a championship run.
When you say every level, so you think they should get rid of Mitch Johnson?
I don't know that get rid of him is the right answer, but I think they need to look at some of the things that he did from who he had on the floor and when. I mean, great point, because we talked about it a lot. Like, he'd come out of a timeout and you're like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? So I think there has to be a short leash with that, because this team, if you keep the core of this team together, this team could be special for quite some time.
Yeah, I agree with the core part. I think you at least give him another year, and then you can really find out what his coaching chops are about. Because what does he take from this finals experience and learn and apply next season? Now, if you don't see any change, then that means we're just making the same mistakes over and over, and this guy ain't it. But he's young, so hey, I got outcoached. I made bad lineup calls. I made bad timeout play calls. All these things, take the next step, Hey, go and watch film with Pop. Have him break it down for you. Take some lessons, learn them. If you apply them next year, you're right back in the finals. If you don't, then you got to go.
Yeah, with
That's
this
what
with
I'll
this
start
roster, he could be Eric Spoelstra, or he could be Doc Rivers.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, if everything goes the same, and I'll start with you, Drew, and then we'll go around. If everything's the same, but pre-stroke, it's Greg Popovich coaching this team. They have all the massive leads. They're, 27-point lead, 29-point leads. They're leading 70% of the games they played. Does Greg Pop walk away with the title with this team?
Yes.
Or do you think they still collapse?
Yeah.
I agree. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they do. I don't disagree with what Hammer was saying about Mitch Johnson. The only thing is, like, this was his first. I mean, he's like, just a couple, like, he's like barely over 30 years old. This was his first run. He really got thrown into the fire earlier than he expected. Also, the Spurs were thrown into, I shouldn't say thrown, they earned their way into the NBA Finals a year or two before that we thought they would be. So I get it. Everything that he had certainly deserves questions. My only thing is, like, at some point as a coach, though, you have to learn. We talk about all the time, with Coach Pope, like, he's still learning and he's only been here for 2 years now. At Kentucky, you don't have a long time to learn. In the NBA, you certainly don't have enough time to learn. So as T was saying, though, which I agree with, is like, you got to take this experience and you better learn from it. If not, then a year from now or 2 years down the line, then we can start questioning, have the conversations. But also, he did a hell of a coaching job of getting them there. We have to remember that. Yeah, some decisions weren't great, but look, that's a high-pressure moment for a coach as well. I agree with what they were saying. But I just kind of wanted to throw that in too. Like, he's a young coach. He's learning on the fly. And, he hasn't really been around it either, because when he was in San Antonio, it wasn't like he was a part of the dynasty Spurs. He was a part of the rebuilding Spurs as well under Coach Pop. So, it's a huge moment. You got to learn in those moments. But, it's really tough as a young coach, the first time there, young team. He could have done better, but hopefully he just learns from it. I think he's a great basketball coach, though.
Yeah, and I think the youth definitely played a factor in all the things of managing the court and what was going on in the moment of the game, to include, I still think he's got a big part of his game, but he was injured. But to Hammer's point, I think a more seasoned coach will say, listen, De'Aaron Fox is not the answer. Dylan Harper or someone else is. And he almost seemed like, I got to put my max contract guy in the game in this moment to be it, right? And I think if you're Greg Pop, or even on the other side, a guy who has been in the moment, been to finals, who, has had and gotten blown out, so he had learned from that experience before, is playing and having a lot of trust in dudes who hadn't even touched the court in the previous series, but knew he had to play them right now to get a spark going. So he does have to kind of look in the mirror. That's why I put a lot on Mitch, because yes, the players got to do the thing. They collapse. They make boneheaded plays. He can't do anything about De'Aaron Fox not pulling that thing out and going for a layup, right? He can't do anything about Wemby not making free throws in clutch moments, multiple games. But, when you're making a run and you're on the road and you got to win the game, you don't need to necessarily save 2 timeouts for the last 2 plays of the game when maybe calling plays isn't your strong suit anyways. Call those timeouts with 4 minutes left, 2 minutes left to just stop the run. You don't need a game-winning play in the moment. You can just kind of stop the run, settle it down, settle your guys down, instead of just – he was just, all right, I'm going to let it play through it. He almost seemed to panic and not know what to do. And the only decent play call that he had in those moments was the lob to Stephon Castle, which if it doesn't get tipped, I think that's going in. Cat just made a great play. But outside of that, everything was an 18-foot jump shot. And if De'Aaron Fox, Joshua Boyd was talking about De'Aaron Fox, if he doesn't make the elbow jumper in game 2, they lose that game too. So you got to give De'Aaron some credit. But that is the elephant in the room now, right? T, you mentioned, I guess he had unfollowed the Spurs on IG. And in today's world, that social media thing is big. Big Perk was talking about it. And he says, you got to find a suitor to move on from De'Aaron Fox. He is not the answer. You have Dylan Harper. You have Stephon Castle. Those are the 2 you build around. I disagree. While maybe he's not the number 1 option, I think he still can take a true point guard role. You need a veteran presence with this young team. And then you go and maybe you trade Vassell or Champagny and bolster up the front court because Wemby needs some help. It can't be who was their back that was coming in for him?
Luke Cornett.
Yeah, Luke Cornett. Like, he can't be the dude to come in and spell Wemby, and Wemby isn't a 48 minute a game guy yet. Do you move on from De'Aaron Fox if you're the Spurs, or do you try to fit him into the current roster?
Well, the problem is his value now is at the lowest it ever has been in his entire NBA career, with the biggest contract that he's ever had in the NBA. To Coach Ryan's point, shout out him. He has such a big contract and his value is at an all-time low after the NBA Finals, and it doesn't matter injuries or whatnot. Like, what team is going to make a move? What team's going to make a move and want De'Aaron Fox unless you're, I don't even know who they could trade him for. I'm sure they could work a deal out with somebody, one of the bad organizations like the Brooklyn Nets or something like that. But the problem is after the finals, his stock in the NBA as a true point guard or a top point guard, which I still think he is. We didn't see him healthy, but we know, like, what have you done for me lately, business? And what we saw from him last in the playoffs, he did not play at his absolute best. It could be hard for them to make a move. That's really the only problem. They might be stuck with keeping him for a year, kind of like what Memphis is in right now with John Morant situation. Like, they really can't trade him because what team is going to give them enough value that it actually makes sense for them to trade him? Sure, they could trade him for, cookies and milk, but that doesn't help the Grizzlies in the long run, trading a John Morant. They hope that then he just gets back into his superstar ways, and either he works out of Memphis, or then if he is back in his superstar ways, they can trade him and get back going as an organization.
T, what you think, man?
I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of Fox. I don't think keeping him is ideal, because you're right, they could use a veteran presence, but he clearly wasn't the one to make the correct veteran decisions. So, yes, you need it. He's not necessarily providing it, but I don't think you have a choice, because they don't do like in football, where football they'll cut you and eat dead money. They don't really do that in basketball. So I think you find a way, and hey, you might just have to eat it and he doesn't start. And now you got this max contract dude that's coming off the bench, and that's a hard decision to make. But I don't think that he's valueless. Like, he can still contribute to you on the court. I disagree with Joshy Boy that Fox is washed. Like, you can see he's still the fastest player on the court, like, easily, and he can still play and he can still contribute. You just got to make sure that his role is carved out appropriately. You don't give him a max contract player role, even though he's getting paid that, because you don't have a choice. He's going to be on your roster. So you might – it'd be weird, I guess, relegating a max player to the bench. But you got to find a way to make him fit. But he's not going anywhere, I don't think.
My tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is the whole pouting on social media and unfollowing is they know they can't get rid of him, but maybe they can ask him to restructure the deal. I know it doesn't happen a lot in the NBA either. But, hey, you try to sell him on we got to the chip, man, and we just need a couple extra pieces, but we need some money to do that. We restructure you, maybe give you an extension, but less money. We keep you on. We make you not a focal point, but we invest in you as far as like time wise. We just can't pay you this amount of money. Now, again, I know it doesn't happen. NBA players don't let go of money, just not how it works. But there's definitely some behind the scenes things going. Hammer, close us out here. What do you do with De'Aaron Fox if you're the Spurs?
Well, what I would do with him is exactly what T said. Just because I'm paying you max contract doesn't mean I have to give you max playing time. And the part is not greater than the whole. You've got these two young studs in the backcourt, and I think you figure out a way to make it work with them. Fox has his role, and it doesn't necessarily mean he plays 15 minutes. It's just I think he's got to be able to be efficient and effective for the investment that they have. And right now, and granted, we know he was coming back off of an injury, so he wasn't 100%, and he fought through that. So maybe he comes back healthy, and we see a different version of De'Aaron Fox. But even with that said, that part of that falls back on coaching. That we're just going to lose a series, be damned. We're sticking with him. We're going to stick with our guy, and we're going to let him go out there and make bad decisions and have bad turnovers. And I mean, that's just where you have to kind of just pump the brakes and read the room. And going back to the Pop question, there's no way they lose games up 20+ with Pop coaching, because he's got the experience, but two, he's just that kind of coach that he sees, okay, we're on our heels. We got to take a timeout. Even if it's just a reset, just to break the momentum, whatever that looks like, he's going to make those calls. He's going to make that decision. So, if Pop had been coaching this team under these same circumstances, we could be talking about a different 5-game series, because it easily could have been that way.
Would have been that way.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that. I even a couple, times at work with some of the guys, I'm like, Pop coaching, there's no way they lose that game. So, and yes, he's young. First year, kind of took over in a tough situation, and that's why I'm not like fire the guy. I don't think that's the right answer. But I think he's got to fix some stuff, and he's got to fix it quick, because with this level of talent, they should be competing and in this same situation, conference championships, NBA finals, pretty much year in, year out, if they assemble the rest of the roster correctly. So if that doesn't happen and he can't get over the hump, then I think you have to clean house in all of the personnel, coaching, GM, everybody's got to go, because something is wrong if you're not going to be able to win with this group.
Yes.
And unless you just put a giant package together to somebody that can take on that salary for De'Aaron Fox, I don't see him going anywhere. I think they're going to have to figure it out.
I'd take him in Orlando in a heartbeat. Take him in a heartbeat in Orlando to lead that team. I know we got guards, but I'm not sold on Desmond Bane at all to lead us past in the East. That's a pipe dream. It won't happen. But I agree with you, and I think everybody's to the point where no, you're not talking about firing Mitch right now. But I do think, and I don't know their staff well enough to say they don't have this, but it seemed while watching the games they don't have this, to get some sort of veteran coaching presence on here where hey, Mitch, you're the dude, but someone who can grab his collar and be like, hey, dog, the time is now. Timeout, substitution, whatever. Get this dude out of the game, whatever it is, to kind of lock him in. The football get back guy, he needs somebody that, hey, dog, come here and let's have a conversation, because what you're doing right now ain't it. And Pop, unfortunately, not in the mindset to do that, but someone under that lineage who maybe can come back or is on the staff is elevated to really be the guy who can wrangle Mitch in when he is seemingly overwhelmed with the moment.
Should have been Corliss Williamson. He's a veteran ball player, SEC guy. For if y'all don't remember, played at Arkansas. He wasn't some superstar or anything, but he had a super solid NBA career. He knows basketball, and he's one of Mitch's assistants. If you're a ball player, when momentum has shifted and all that. To your point, as the assistant, go up to him hey, man, we got to stop the bleeding right now, coach. When our Marines are hey, I don't think we should do that, sir. He needs to do that to, hey, we need to call a timeout, coach. Come on. So, but you're right. Get somebody on there who can be your veteran first chair or whatever they call those guys.
And the reason why the leash is so short isn't necessarily because it's the Spurs, in my opinion, that plays with it, but it's because you have an all-world, once-in-a-lifetime talent on that team. You have to win with that. You just have to, right? So, he's been given a great gift to Coach Wemby. It's also you got to win with it, or it's going to be a thing that gets your ass sent away, right? It's just you have to win with this dude on the team, and if you can't do it, it's kind of like some of the LeBron teams. You have generational talent on the team. If you can't win with them, LeBron's going to stay, and we're going to find a new guy to coach the ball club. We'll close out NBA Finals talk. The Knicks go on a playoff run that is once in a lifetime. 13 straight wins. Help me out. 9 straight home
13.
wins.
They won 13 in a row at game 3 of the NBA Finals.
And I think they won 9 straight on the road too in the playoffs, something like that. But an incredible run that they go on to win the chip. Now they do it in an ugly fashion, being down by a bunch of points, but they win. With the East, I know the Celtics are there. Probably their closest competition, maybe the Cavs. They can figure it out. No faith, James Harden for me. But if LeBron does go there in the offseason, that elevates them. Are the Knicks in line to be like the next dynasty, or at least the next team you can pretty much lock in to the conference championship and NBA finals for the East? Or do you think, hey, they went on a great run, but you can't – some of those players are aging out. Josh Hart, how long does he have? Mikal Bridges, maybe you can rely on him to go on the run he did throughout the playoffs. Are they the next ones, or is this a one-off and the trend's going to continue over the last 10 years or so where we get a new champion every single year? Whoever wants to take it.
I think for the East, they're probably in good shape. The Celtics, we will see. There's a lot of talk about trading for Giannis potentially splitting up one of the wings with Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, which I think would be Jaylen Brown in the trade. I know they haven't been there, but I hold a lot of stock in Philly. Tyrese Maxey he's right there. I mean, he's knocking on the door of being a superstar, and just the health issues. But VJ Edgecombe, he's a future potentially star in the league. Could Philly make some moves? Like I mentioned, Boston. I think Boston will be there anyways. They have such a good core. Jason Tatum, even without Jaylen Brown, he's still one of the best players in the league. Missoula does a great job as a coach. Your Orlando Magic.
Hey, Pritchard, one of the best Caucasians in the league.
Yeah. Your Orlando Magic, they're right there in the mix. Detroit was the 1 seed, and they just flamed out in the playoffs. They're kind of similar to what we thought the Spurs would be and what the Thunder were 2 years ago of they're there. They're just 1 year away. They're just not quite there yet. The Pistons will be back. An interesting team that I'm kind of monitoring is the Miami Heat. I think the Heat could be very, very, very aggressive in the offseason with a lot of trades, potentially some draft picks. We'll see there. Even a team like Washington in the East, Trae Young just declined his player option, but I think he's still expected to go back to the Wizards to work out a long-term deal. We'll see what they do with AD. I'm guessing AJ DeBonsa will be the first overall pick to Washington. They got Trey Johnson last year. They kind of got this pretty decent young core. I think Washington could be in the mix. There's a lot of teams in the East, but I don't know if the Knicks are built for it, because they were the best team in the playoffs, but they weren't anything dominant. They weren't like what we saw, the Warriors being in the past. And I know the rules have changed. They weren't like what we expected from the Thunder. And I'll still say this. I think the Thunder win the championship if Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell don't get hurt. I think that, and yet they still went to a game 7 with the Spurs and had it. We saw the Spurs, they probably should have won the finals in 5 games. So I don't know. Can the Knicks do it? Yes. But I think it's going to be very hard for them to keep that championship level because they got a lot of money invested. They kind of got a weird dynamic with the team. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the parity maintains, which I love. Going into it, just foregone conclusion when KD is with the Warriors, why are we even playing the season? We already know they're going to win. We haven't known who was going to win for what is it now? The last 9?
8.
Last 8 ever since the Lakers in the bubble, right? So yeah. I don't think it's just a foregone conclusion that the Knicks make it again.
I agree.
They're going to be competitive, though.
Yeah, no, they will be part of the mix. It's the fact that there's a mix that is a good thing to me.
One thing we've seen in the last decade or so is a team gets to the top, they win the championship, and all the teams below it who were close, that there's been a lot of offseason moves to like, how do you combat like the thing that did so right now? The Celtics are looking. Jaylen Brown, I think, is a stud. I think he needs to go be a one somewhere, like a primetime guy. Milwaukee being the place, we'll see if that works. But like Giannis with the Celtics, now you have someone who can match up with Cat, right? And maybe the way that they play and they really stretch the floor out and they like to shoot a three, that'll work with Giannis to kind of open some things up for him. You mentioned the Heat are gonna make some moves. So like
I didn't even mention Indiana. I forgot about Indiana. They just made the finals last year. Halliburton will be back.
Healthy, yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my call out in the East. Is of course the Celtics are going to be in the conversation, and the Knicks. I'm not sold as much on Philly. I think Detroit, Indiana, Cleveland, Miami, I think those are more the guys that maybe muddle it up with the right moves. But, keep in mind that Indiana was there just a season ago, and since then they've added Zubac, who I know a lot of people probably weren't as big on him with the Clippers, but that dude can play. Mm-hmm. And he will be a problem for really anybody in the East, Cat included. So they're starters with Siakam, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin. I mean, that's a solid group. And then you throw Zubac in there with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. That team's going to be a problem. I think the West is probably foregone Spurs and Thunder till further notice. Thunder are getting a lottery pick. If they don't trade it, they're getting a lottery pick this year, which is insane to think about, but that's where we are. And then a mix of Nuggets, Lakers, T-Wolves, maybe Houston. Like, there's not as many contenders in the West because the gap, I think, is much greater. The East is wide open, absolutely wide open. And depending on what the Celtics do, especially with Jaylen Brown, because I agree. I think if anybody moves in a trade, it's going to be him. Because that's Jason Tatum's team, no matter what the stat sheet says. And then you add Giannis to that, which is not a foregone conclusion, but it's starting to look more and more like that could possibly be where he ends up. That's going to give a little bit more space there between them and the Knicks, and certainly the Pistons. The Pistons going to have to do some. They're going to have to do some maneuvering. But I think the Pacers would be if I were to bet who's going to win the East right now, I would take the Pacers.
What do y'all think of Giannis? I don't like Giannis with Boston. I mean,
I don't either, T.
Like I think Drew, I think you said it. Like they play, all they do is fire up three, so maybe that gives Giannis space. But you have to change your complete game plan if you're Mazzulla, because he doesn't play. Let's get a whole bunch of space and let one person. It's like we just shoot threes.
Back up threes.
Yeah,
Nate Oates school of basketball.
100%. And
the problem is, for me, I think the problem is, and I know Peyton Pritchard's great, but if they were going to make that move, they need to go try to find like a true point guard or something to distribute, lobs and pick and rolls with Giannis and have Tatum on the off ball in those pick and roll. Like they need like a true point guard that can. Because if it's just Giannis and Tatum running the show and being ball heavy, I feel like that's too much. It would be pretty similar to what it is now in Boston, which is it's good and it's won you a championship, but it would make it very hard. That's why I didn't like the move. And my buddy's a Celtics fan. We talk about the Celtics all the time. That's why I didn't like the move when they traded Anthony Simons for Nikola Vucevic. Like that trade made zero sense to me long-term wise or the short term. Because the Celtics weren't going to win the championship anyways this year. And they tried to fight it like they could. And that's why they went to go get a big. But I don't know.
Yeah, and Simons fits their style perfectly.
Yeah, he would have been perfect. I don't know. The same thing with, they haven't came up as much late, but with the Heat, like Giannis and Bam wouldn't really be a great fit. And Giannis really anywhere isn't like it has to be a that's why I mentioned the Warriors. I think he would be a great fit with the Warriors, but you would have to get rid of Porzingis in that trade. But like Steph and Giannis, I think would be absolutely nasty. And then Draymond out there doing what he does, they would be great defensively and, in the front court. You still have Jimmy Butler there as well, but I don't know. Could they keep all three of those guys together, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond and Giannis? Like, that would be interesting. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Giannis to the Celtics, although it probably would work. But just eye appeal wise, I don't know.
I don't like it.
Yeah, but I can't wrap my mind around any of the Giannis trades because of how much you have to give up. When we mentioned the Heat, you have to give up so much to get him.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't. None of the. I think the main teams. Josh Boy's talking about the Lakers. I haven't seen them involved in anything. I think they're more worried about what they do with LeBron. But with the Heat and the Celtics, what you have to give up, and Drew, you mentioned like both these teams are close. You have to give up and hope Giannis can fit. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The Heat to me, they need to not do any trades, in my opinion, unless it's one that they can get away with like trading for a John Morant and not have to give up Tyler or Bam. If they can keep those two and make some moves to get those guys in potential, I don't know what their draft selection's like. If they could draft very well, they still have Kel'el Ware. He's a young talent who plays the 5. Kasparis Yakachonis, I didn't watch a ton of the Heat this year. I'm not even sure how he played as a rookie, but he's a guy that they spent a lottery pick on last year, I believe. So the Heat aren't that far away. The problem is though with the Heat is they're going to make a huge move that could shake up a ton of stuff in the organization, and it might work, or it also could be an absolute disaster. And they're just going to continue to be in this like 5-year drought that they've been in of just being mediocre, playing in the play-in games. They need to do something to like really elevate and get in the picture in the Eastern Conference because they're not that far away. It's kind of what I say with the West with the Phoenix Suns. The Suns aren't that far away if they just make the proper, pickups and proper moves. Both of those organizations could be in the mix in both conferences.
A team I really heard a lot of people talk about. What do you guys think about a trade with Cleveland?
But they would be giving up Mobley.
They would have to give up Mobley and probably somebody like a Sam Merrill or something that would fit more of what the Celtics do. But I mean, just to throw it out there for argument's sake, would that be a good fit for Giannis with that lineup with Harden and Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen?
Yeah, probably. My only thing is you're kind of giving away. You're kind of making a lateral move as far as like what Mobley is, and Giannis, just Mobley's a lot younger.
Yeah, so if he is young. That's the only thing that kind of holds it up for me is you're trading away but you want to win and win now. I think that's the move.
So is it a trade-off of like, all right, we're getting rid of this young talent and hoping we get like a 2-year window where we can try to capitalize off of this? Now, fit-wise, it would be great. I just don't know if, like, organizational, like, wise, it would be a good move for Cleveland, but we'll see.
What about the Bulls?
Are they win now, though?
I don't even know who's on their team. Who's on the team?
You got Josh Giddey and Trey Jones as their point guards. Their center position is who cares, right? So it's like it could use it. I think they have the money to do so. You're bringing in a new coach, so like you may not have the assets, but you got the money, draft capital maybe. But they're a team where you could kind of mold around Giannis. But again, I don't know what kind of trade calls Giannis has. I don't know that's where he wants to go outside of the Bulls being kind of a legacy organization. I don't think they're a Giannis away from really making the noise, but they definitely have a massive gap to where he could improve their team drastically.
So I think we've talked about it before. I just don't value Giannis that much. And I know his name is going to demand a ton of value or a ton of assets and stuff in return. But to me, Giannis has always been similar. He's been very, very good, obviously, like elite even, just because of his physical traits. But he's like a poor man's LeBron. Like his whole game was to out-athleticize you, overpower you, and get to the bucket. A big difference that I've seen between him and LeBron is his game has not improved or changed at all. Like he cannot shoot. And now, he's not old, but he's getting older. And so his ability to out-athleticize you every single time that he has the ball, like he could 3 years ago, is starting to diminish. And now he can only out-athleticize you once every 3 times or once every 4 possessions or something. And so now you're going to give up all these players and all your future and all that for somebody that teams can do that whole Giannis wall thing again, and you don't have to worry about him shooting threes. You couldn't do the LeBron wall anymore because he at least made himself a serviceable three-point shooter. And so that's why I don't value Giannis like that, because his game hasn't improved or it hasn't changed, and he's getting older. So what made him dominant, he's not going to be able to do all that long, or to me, even now, to the point that he could when he led the Bucks to a championship. So he's not worth mortgaging your future, because I don't think he can lead you to a championship anymore. But I don't value him that much. He's great. He'll be a Hall of Famer and all that kind of stuff, but for the price that the Bucks will command for him, I don't think he's worth it.
Yeah, somebody's going to massively overpay.
Yeah.
With like draft capital or players or something. I mean, it's going to be, and I think that's what the Bucks want, right? Because they're looking to rebuild. So I think they're looking for, a mix of really good draft picks and maybe a couple of guys that can come on and play now. It'll never happen because it's Western Conference and it's way further away from him being able to make the trip back home. But Portland would be neat to see, because he'd get back with Drew and Dame, and then they've got the Portland's got a ton of young guys that they could put some kind of package together with draft picks and maybe get some of their picks back. Yeah, Milwaukee get some of their picks back from the trade. So, but I know it won't happen. He didn't want to play in the West. He didn't want to have to face Wemby and OKC, and I don't blame him, because he probably won't get there.
The other thing about Giannis is you got to have a roster spot for 3 dudes, because he's bringing 2 brothers with him.
Yeah.
So you got to clear out 3 roster spots for him.
That's the other issue.
League minimum contracts.
It's a package. It's not.
What kind of relationship you think he has with Drew Holiday? Because he had to sign off on the Drew for Dame trade, right?
Probably. Yeah. I don't know.
And if I'm Drew, I'm not rocking with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. Very possible. It's not as rosy as what it.
But Drew Holiday.
I just know they played well together. So
they played great together. Drew fits in perfectly everywhere he goes.
He does, man.
I love Drew Holiday, man.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday got another ring out of that trade deal with Boston, so I think he's all right.
Yeah, it worked out for him, but still, like, man, you agreed to ship me off, man, and y'all got worse. You thought this was an upgrade? Yeah. Remember when Jimmy was going off on the 76ers and he was like, Tobias Harris over me?
Yeah.
Like, Drew Holiday can be the same way.
Yeah, I think he's going to go to a different team. But are you getting a quality investment for what Giannis is now? Because I completely agree with you. LeBron hater through and through, but that's one thing he did. He has developed his game to have an outside shot, and especially as he's gotten older, he has needed it, because he's not be able to out athletic and outpower as many folks. He's still a freight train coming downhill, still able to live above the rim. But for years we have said Giannis just gets a jump shot, he could be dangerous. And for years, he has unfortunately not been able to develop that.
Yeah, he had that one season where he shot for like the first 15 games, and then that was it.
Yeah, and at this point, he ain't gonna develop it now, right? Nope. So I'm sure he's had every shooting coach or whatever. He's not gonna have that. So the Giannis that you're gonna have is the same Giannis that you had in Milwaukee when he won a championship, years older and less explosive, less athletic. And not the same return on investment you would have had if they'd have traded him a couple years back when all this stuff had it, and Milwaukee just decided to jump more money into him and try to keep him. All right, NBA talk over. The thing that captured the internet over the last couple of days, Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech. The internet sucks at a lot of times the internet sucks, but it won this week when Texas Tech just got bullied and peer pressured into being like, listen, Sorsby had it. You got to go to the NFL supplemental draft, man. Like, this is not going to work. We got to mutually part ways. I think he still has to get approved to actually have a supplemental draft. I think the closeout is this week, but I imagine those conversations have had if he was going to part ways, that's going to happen. The question is now, if it's approved, what do you give up for Brendan Sorsby?
I don't think you give up anything more than a third-round pick.
I agree. That was where I'm at. I think third or fourth is right there.
I think a team desperate for a quarterback, a third-round pick is not that much of a gamble. Pardon the pun.
Well done. Well done.
And if he truly is accurate in his valuation of first-round talent, then you get an absolute steal if it works out. The flip side of that is he's lied about everything, and he's out of the league in a year. So there's a risk obviously involved, but I think again, a team desperate for a quarterback, looking at you, Cleveland, because they've got 7. What's one more?
That's what I was going to say. Can they do it? Like,
I think it's worth a third round. I think it's worth a third round pick, because again, if you're a team right now in a position that you've got quarterback issues, you're probably going to screw up that third round pick anyway. Why not go ahead and take a shot?
That's what I was going to say. Or go ahead, Rando.
So I think if you look at the history of the supplemental draft, most of these guys who enter get a first or second round pick, but they don't have the baggage Brendan Sorsby has. I think Chris Carter was a 4th round when he entered, and he was one of the lowest that I saw looking back through the history since like the 70s when this happened, if I remember correctly. Brendan Sorsby, also, if you look at the history, is going to come with a suspension when these things have happened in the league and they have transferred. In the NCAA, and they transfer to the league in the supplemental draft. The NFL doesn't particularly like to be like, hey, you can come here completely free of whatever, and we'll exhaust you of whatever crime or allegation that came. You're going to get suspended. Now, the NCAA suspension was a full year. The judge's suspension was 2 years. So my bet would be he's going to get a year suspension from the league, because I think they have to hammer down hard. Look what they did to Calvin Ridley. Like, they have to hammer down hard on this gambling thing. So you're going to give a 3rd or 4th round pick at best, in my opinion, and know he's going to be suspended. But that team who's going to go after him probably wasn't going to start him anyway. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal for the team. Cleveland, Arizona, the Dolphins, like guys who need someone who can step up later on. Like, do you have faith in Carson Beck? Probably not.
Faith, no. Is there potential there? Yes, but yeah, at this point, I think that's a good point about the suspension, because I was like, go ahead and bring him in if you're Arizona, because we don't, who knows what Jacoby Brissett's going to do. So let him and Carson Beck get after it and push each other.
Well, that might be the best thing for him as a year suspension, because you get to learn and you get to develop. I think so many times we see a lot of busts in the NFL because these teams throw out quarterbacks, and I'm not saying he's not ready to start probably in the NFL tomorrow or this year, but it could be good for him just in general of like, you literally cannot play. You get to spend a whole year. Number one, keep doing your rehab or whatever the hell is going on behind the scenes. Keep doing that. Keep cleaning up your image and your mind or whatever, and then spend the year actually developing him, because he's got to get better anyways if he wants to play in the NFL. Like that was why that's why he went back to school in the first place, because he was not good enough to go to the NFL probably and actually have success. Sure, he could have been drafted because of his tools and his body and all of those things, but he went to Texas Tech to, number one, make a shit ton of money. Number 2, probably compete for a national championship. But number 3, to get better, to prove that like he's a legitimate first round NFL quarterback, legit like potentially NFL starter. So it might be good for him that he gets to sit out a year. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of a strange situation for sure.
Well,
Hammer, you're the heavy pour sports bookie. You're the guy. So where do you think he ends up? Teams, you mentioned Cleveland, other teams that could potentially waste. I shouldn't say waste. It might be a waste, but give up a 3rd or 4th round pick for him. And do you agree that the league has to hammer this home and at least give him a year suspension? Two games seems kind of soft. Or do you think they find a middle ground? What do you think the league does with his suspension? And do you have a feel of where he might go or potential teams where he might be a good fit?
Yeah, it's going to put the league office in kind of a tough spot because they've been so hard line on it, right? And we've seen guys get suspended for a year. And has anybody been banned from NFL for this?
I
can't remember.
Not that comes to mind.
I know they've handed out some suspensions.
I think
I
Calvin
can't think
Rudin
of
was
anybody,
the biggest one for a year.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, if they follow suit, they set their own precedent with this. So I think they would be hard pressed for them to not do that, especially given how public this whole mess has been. So, but if they suspend him, don't let him play, is he still going to be allowed to be in the facilities? He's still going to be allowed to be at practice? Is he going to be able to take any practice reps or scout team reps or whatever? So, a lot of unknowns and variables with it. And I think that will probably also impact what round pick a team is going to be willing to give up, because if they're just going to have the rights to this kid for a year and not really have any value from him, then I don't know that anybody's going to really go as high as a 3. Historically, oddly enough, the Browns have really had more success with the supplemental draft than anybody, because they got Bernie Kosar, they got Terrell Pryor, and they got Josh Gordon.
The Raiders got Terrell Pryor.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. The Raiders got him.
Now he went over to the Browns and he balled out. But the Raiders.
That's right. I forgot. That's a good call. And then Josh Gordon, and they used a 2nd round pick on Josh Gordon.
Steal.
So, and I think Josh, maybe, that Cleveland has too many quarterbacks. I agree 100% they do. One, they're stuck with. They can't do anything about it. They've got 2 young guys that one of them needs to go, period, because they don't need to carry them both, get some value out of it. I still think Cleveland is the best scenario.
I know
both. What's that?
I got a team.
The only other 2 I can really just immediately pop out, and it's not just because you guys are sitting here, but that's because of what you're dealing with in Miami and in Arizona. A lot of unknowns, and unfortunately, you guys are respectively 1 and 2 to have the least amount of wins in the NFL this year. Cardinals 1, Miami 2.
Yeah.
So how big of a risk would it be if you can get this kid in and he can at least practice? I don't know. It may be worth a flyer.
Yeah, I don't.
What's your team, Drew?
My team's the New York Jets. If you're the Jets, why would you not take him? Geno Smith is your starting quarterback. You're probably going to be very bad again this year because history tells us the Jets are going to suck. Going to be in the mix for the number 1 draft pick. You take Sorsby, you get him in the third round or whatever the evaluation is. You can get him. You have him in your building. Okay, then you draft early. You get to the chance to evaluate him, and then if you get the number 1 pick. And let's just say Arch is amazing and he's the guy, right? He's the guy. Then you take Arch and you have Sorsby in your back pocket for, potentially down the road or trade options or whatever. And let's say you're the Jets and you take Sorsby, but you have a decent year in your, pick 4 or 5, then you don't have to go take a quarterback if Sorsby is good in the building, and he's developing, he's showing you signs that he can be a legitimate quarterback. That's how you fix the quarterback room if you're the Jets, because their quarterback room's been a disaster for the last 12 years. So I think if you're the Jets, you just take a risk and you hope that either Sorsby works out, or if you're really bad and you get the number 1 pick and it's Arch Manning or it's Dante Moore or whoever, then you can go in with that guy and you can live with that, and you can stash Sorsby as a backup, or you can trade Sorsby depending on, what he's doing behind the scenes. But if you're the Jets, man, if you want to be competitive, you got to find a quarterback. You're going to be bad anyways. Just take the risk and go get him if you can in this supplemental draft.
So you don't have any confidence in Cade Klubnik or Brady Cook? Is that what you're telling me, Drew?
No. I grew up with Brady
I'll
Cook.
tell you, there was talks on ESPN, and the GOAT, ESPN Insider, tells you that they love Cade Klubnik over there. So
I have
how much you want to believe that? I found it hard to believe, but he was like, yeah, they love Cade Klubnik over there.
Well, I have seen some stuff that apparently he's ripping the ball, and we've seen some reports as well. DJU with the Chargers that he's been balling out in practice squad. So it kind of makes me even question what the hell's going on at Clemson, anyways, because. Or even more, because I don't know, these 2 quarterbacks that were literally failures at Clemson, apparently getting in their NFL organizations and doing decent. Obviously, DJU is never going to play with the Chargers unless he's a backup, because they have Justin Herbert, unless he gets hurt or something crazy happens. But, I mean, he's still in the NFL. Apparently, the Chargers like what he's doing in the practice squad. If Klubnik's balling behind the scenes, then makes you wonder what the hell's going on in – And
Shefty also said that Arizona super loves Carson Beck, and that they think he could be a guy.
I mean, again,
to believe.
You can't sleep on his physical tools. That's
true.
He can move, he can throw. He just got to get locked in mentally. I'm not saying he's like a franchise guy or whatever, but I think we kind of make fun of him. So, but he's not a bum. I mean, he kind of got wrote off when he was at UGA because he had some of those interceptions. But then he also showed flashes. He looked like a daggum Heisman against UT. So, and then he took his team to the national championship. So, for where we drafted him, I'm okay taking that shot. I think there's a lot of physical ability, and if the coaching staff can do what they need to do to get him locked in on the mental aspect, he could probably be a decent, serviceable, or good starter for you.
You know which team is super pissed about this news? And I would have doubled down that they put a 3rd or 4th round pick for him, maybe even higher. The LA Rams. They wasted a 1st round pick on Ty Simpson, and they could have had Brendan Sorsby, suspended or not, play the next 2 years or be in the building for the next 2 years behind Matthew Stafford. Similar, I can throw from different arm windows, off-platform body types. Him and Sean McVay would have been right there. Well, I'm telling you what, the Rams are like, son of a, we got Tyson, could have this dude. Damn it! We wasted a 1st round on this guy.
I think the Rams did that because when are they ever going to draft that high again? They got a good quarterback that you can develop, and they're already built to win now. They didn't.
That's what I'm saying. They could use that 1st round pick on a win now player and not a sit behind.
Yeah, not a 1 year play, not a 1 year collegiate player. That's my hang up with the pick, is he only had 1 year under his belt in college.
Yeah, I get that. But I get the Rams' perspective. They're already ready to go win a Super Bowl. They're loaded at really every position and depth-wise in a lot of positions that they needed to take a quarterback in the future while they still have a decent draft selection at when do they take them, 14 or 15 or something? They're never going to draft that high for the next probably 2 to 3 years at the least.
To your point, though, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. They got beat, right? So they are built to be a Super Bowl contender, but you lost in your conference finals, right? So
but they traded to get McDuffie, one of the best corners in the league, from the Chiefs. I think they traded for another corner.
If I'm that close, I'm doing everything I can to win right now.
Yeah, I'm not wasting a 1st round pick on a 1 year starter when the following year, if I want a quarterback for Matt Stafford, I'm waiting until this class is coming out because it is going to be way better than what they had to choose from. And I'm still not convinced that Sean McVay wanted to use that pick on a quarterback.
Me neither.
I'm still not convinced of it. I think he was forced into that.
And I get your point to planning for the future. It's what Green Bay did with Aaron Rodgers and all that.
Yeah, Stafford's 39, so
yeah. But when you're that close, like we got to take advantage of this.
I get it.
I don't think anybody looked at the Rams last year when they lost to the Seahawks and said, "Man, if they're a backup quarterback away."
No, but you're also a non-developmental quarterback away from when Stafford retires. That you're back from the Rams that I saw in St. Louis for the 10 years that they were here when I could comprehend football. So,
but retire with a ring. Retire with a ring. If you give me a Super Bowl, then me and my fan base can stomach a rebuild for 6 years or whatever.
True.
Yeah. Or, it's not a drafted quarterback. It's a free agency quarterback, right? Someone to if Sean McVay keeps wanting to do this thing, I think if they ever win one with Matt Stafford, he takes that big high paying job in the booth and he just hangs. He's been talking about it. He's been flirting with that idea for a while. I think he even came out and said he was close to taking that deal from Fox or whoever it was before. But Aaron Donald potentially coming back. My point is that I think Brendan Sorsby, a lot of people graded Brendan Sorsby higher than Ty Simpson. So you could have, a better than Ty Simpson if you believe in some of these grades for a third or fourth round vice a first round. And it doesn't really matter about the suspension because neither one of them you're hoping play anyways. So that was just a comedy for me. I was like, man, especially because Sean McVay didn't necessarily love the pick. I think his facial expression in his post-game, or post-draft conference told you that. He's sitting there going to the GM like, dude, I done told you, man.
Josh, I'm sour that the Seahawks and the Rams were in the championship game. I'm pissed about all of it. So I hope they both have 15-year rebuilds coming up.
Same. You're not going to trust in Purdy. Games hater than I am. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we could feel it. We could feel it. All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit Kentucky basketball. There was some news there, but for the sake, come on, man, we got to talk about Kentucky basketball a little bit to end the show. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but the World Cup game 2 for the U.S. men's national team is Friday against the Aussies. I know nothing about the Australian football club, but I'm hoping they are less than or equal to Paraguay, who we just stomped the mud hole in, and we're going to get another 3-0, 4-1 victory. T, you're our soccer dude. The boys in the red, white, and blue stay hot. Is Australia any good? Do we have to worry about this one? What's going on?
Well, so it looks like Pulisic did have some calf discomfort or something. So we definitely need to be concerned with his fitness, as they like to say in soccer, but that just means like his health. But this is kind of good on good, week on week. So remember I said our defense is our weak spot, but defense is Australia's strong spot. So if they get chances offensively, that's not where they're strong. So that's a pretty even match. Weak offense versus weak defense. They're very physical, as you might imagine that an Australian team might be. So they're going to try to bully us and all that. They can muddy it up as a lesser athletic team would try to do, kind of like Paraguay was doing towards the end of our game. That's Australia's style. The creativity that we were playing with, I think, gives us a chance. So it's our strength of offense versus their strength of defense. And then week on week on the other side of the ball, our weak defense versus their weak offense. So it's probably going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be like Paraguay. It's going to be like 1-0, 1-1 type thing. But I think these are the two best teams in our group. So whoever wins this, mathematically it's not 100%, but you win the group.
So this isn't a game you could rest Pulisic and still feel comfortable getting a win.
It's tough just because he is so creative with the ball, and any sport, right? Like hockey, basketball, it's always about spacing, and he attracts so much attention on the left side of the field that he gives the right side in the middle a whole lot more space. So if he doesn't play, I guess we'll see what the coaching chops of our coach are, because he'll have to completely change his attack plan. But yeah, I wouldn't feel good if Pulisic's not healthy or not playing.
Hammer had an emphatic shake of the head. No, I feel like Pulisic's got to be in there for us to get a win.
Yeah, I think so.
1-1.
The goalie for Australia, Patrick Beach, had like an out of body experience in that game. Like he was completely lights out. I think he would have to replicate that against the U.S. And I don't know that they can do that. I think the U.S. is going to get more opportunities for shots than they had against Paraguay. And I think the U.S. wins this game. I think it is lower scoring. I think it's going to be something like 2-1. I think they possibly give up a goal because Australia is very solid in their counter. But I don't see them beating the U.S. They would have to replicate and have another one of those just otherworldly games, and I don't think that they can do that against this U.S. team. That is with Pulisic on the pitch, though.
Yeah, we did beat them 2-1 in the most recent friendly that we played, and similar, like we started off having a hard time with them muddying it up, and then we adjusted and kind of figured it out. But they will try to kind of out-physical us.
So we got game time, 12 p.m. my time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Nice little early afternoon game. It'd be nice.
Hey, and we're off on Friday, right? So
yeah,
lock in and watch it.
It'll be good. It'll be good. This is a
USA.
week where I maybe could have used an extra day of work because, buddy, I am behind on my checkout process. Let me tell you that right now. I'm waiting to the last minute.
Yeah,
it is sneaking up on me quick. And I got some stuff to do, but I will enjoy my day off. Movers come on Monday to pack up my junk. It is getting close quick. But I like your announcement. Anytime y'all both say you feel like USA going to win, T did throw in a potential draw in there. Let's not even focus on that. But 2-0 in the group, especially if it's a dominant
potential draw. I still think we win. I'm just saying I think it'll be low scoring.
Yeah. I would. From a betting perspective, I'd take U.S. on the money line and over 2.5 goals.
What is our plus minus on the money line?
USA money line is minus 160 ish.
Not bad.
Hang on, I'll give you exact current up to date.
And DraftKings doing a thing right now. If you were in a state where you can gamble responsibly, DraftKings is doing a thing.
And where it's legal.
Yeah. If you get where it's legal and do it responsibly, and if you're an athlete, don't do it. But DraftKings is doing a thing where you get your money automatically if your team goes up 1 goal. They're doing it all throughout the group play.
I thought it was 2 goals.
I think if they just go up by, unless they changed it for the first round, it was just up 1. So,
okay, it might not have been DraftKings. I heard some ad, but I don't sports gamble, so I didn't pay enough attention. But I heard him say like, bet whatever you want, and if your team goes up by 2 goals at any point, then you win your bet. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I heard that on DraftKings. We know by now I'm an avid watcher of the Pat McAfee show, so he's now sponsored by DraftKings. He was pumping that up. So even if your team craps the bet and you lose, they go up 1 goal, you're cashing that bet.
And US to win 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1 is plus 390. So I like that too.
You get all 3 of those for those odds?
Yes.
That's interesting.
What did Brennan Sorsby bet on for the game?
I'm sorry.
Uzbekistan
game.
Uzbekistan and Colombia are playing right now, and I'm not a fan of either team, but it's a pretty exciting match. They're getting after it.
Sneaky good game tomorrow is going to be Mexico and South Korea.
Oh, that's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great game. I'll be
The Mexico
rooting
fan base has showed out in the U.S. for sure for their folks.
I'll be rooting for South Korea.
Yeah. The rest of them are kind of sleepers, I think, tomorrow, kind of duds.
But I lived there and I met my wife there, so that'll always have a special place in my heart.
Oh, they are playing in Mexico, so maybe that's why their fan base has showed up. I didn't realize we were.
Hey, did y'all see
throughout all North
the Scots?
America?
The Scots drank all the beer. They drank all the beer out of Boston.
In Boston.
Yeah. They drink it
Nice.
all. Like they have no more. And like the tavern owners are like, we have never seen anything like this. We even stocked up extra the way we do for holiday weekends, and they went through our stuff like it was nothing.
Yeah.
The Scots ain't playing.
They made
I would think that would happen in other places, but not in Boston. I feel like those massholes can absolutely drink some beers.
Yeah. Boston should never run out of beer.
Yeah, they should be prepared. But they said they were going through the Boston Lager like nobody's business.
Seeing some of these tweets from these foreign fans that are coming here and like not understanding U.S. culture, like some foreign from whatever country walking through a Buc-ee's and like, what? This is a gas station? Like, what in the world is going on? Someone posting Golden Corral of like, this is the greatest restaurant I've ever been to in my life. I can get anything I want for $9.99. Like, this is awesome. There was a Japanese account that was basically like, we went to a restaurant and like the service that they were getting, and it was they went to a Mexican restaurant and they kept dropping off chips.
They got
and
the chips.
Like, whoa. I can't pay for all. Like, we're not paying for this. Like, no, it's free. And they're like, what? Greatest country in the world.
Yeah, I saw one dude freaking out about getting refills on his Pepsi or whatever, and so he was just downing them just so he could get refill.
That's like me with the ice cream cones on cruise ships.
Yes,
I'm walking around with one in each hand, buddy.
Double fisted ice cream.
Every time I pass by. Yeah, that's probably how I got norovirus too. I had to brink of death for 6 days, but yeah, I was all about the soft serve.
Well, I'll bring this up for Joshy boy. We can talk Tennessee basketball whenever. I just don't see any news, and the Tennessee panel didn't bring. What is there to talk about on the Tennessee basketball front?
I mean, we got all our business handled, early. So
signed, sealed, delivered, wrapped up neatly with a bow.
We're not having to stress over who's going to sign and how much money we got to pay, and let's go find this kid in Bosnia or Croatia or Kazakhstan or wherever. We took care of business during portal season.
Doesn't sleep. He's looking over under every rock for the next stud. And this kid, Nicola, not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Drew, I'll let you do that. You got to give it a shot. How do you say his last name?
Yeah, Tustrika or something. I don't have it in front of me.
I trust it. Sounds right to me. But he's supposed to be a top 5 pick in 2028 draft. I was on a Space B-Man Boy Space. Kentucky fans know him. I think he was a scout at one point in the Cal era. Basketball mind. He's definitely opinionated, but he'll talk ball and he makes it make sense. He was talking about the hang up right now is the 2-year contract. He is 17 years old. So Kentucky state law, it might even be U.S. law with this NIL deals. His parents have to sign the deal. But then when he turns 18, he basically has to sign a new deal or accept the terms. The way he described it, go listen to his face if you want. He explained it pretty well. But that's kind of the holdup, because it's like, how do we make sure this kid wants to stay for year 2? Because that's when he's going to really blossom his year 2 before he goes to the draft, instead of getting paid 17-year-old through year 1, 15-ish minutes a game, maybe even more if he really hits. And then he decides to go somewhere else in year 2 in our 2-year investment. Yeah, we don't pay for the second year, but we gave him a lot of money year 1, 2 to really not pay off in year 2 where the return of investment is expected. Drew, you looked at his game. Take a couple minutes to talk through, what you think his impact will be at that wing spot for Kentucky next season.
Yeah, so I said it when Usman committed. I've always said it with international guys. I'm never gonna go above and beyond of like expectations. It's so hard to do that because we just don't know. And there's so many factors that come into play when these guys get here that we never know how they respond. He might be different. This kid is, by multiple people that I've heard, that I've kind of basketball people that I've asked, whatever, they say this kid would be a top 3 player in this freshman class. And some people think that he's even more talented than like what Tyron Stokes is. Now, they're completely different players, but a lot of people look at, if they were freshmen in this year's class, it would be Tyron, the Boomche kid at Duke, the big kid who is Nicola's teammate, and then Nicola would be kind of the 3 top freshmen leaving, and then Jordan Smith Jr., those kinds of guys, Caleb Holt, those guys. So this kid is ultra talented. He's a 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" wing. Probably would be my guess would be a 2 or a 3. And he, like what you said, Randall, probably would be a 15 to 20 minute per game guy. He can score, he can pass. He's apparently very impressive defensively. So he has a lot of tools. This is an extremely talented, I believe, 17-year-old kid, just turned 17. So this is like a way above level of what we've seen from like Big Z or Andrei Yelovich, according to what people say. Now, again, we don't know what he would be when he gets over here. How does he adjust to the food? How does he adjust to the American culture? How does he adjust to the practice? How does he adjust to the physicality in the SEC? How does he adjust to the different game from a European basketball to America? That we don't know. What we know is he's talented. He's mocked in the 2028 draft. Some people mocking that, or they talk about it. He's a certified top 10 pick wherever you look. Some people even have him going in the top 3.
Is he coming from a pro league?
Yeah, so
yes, Euro League. So he's at the top tier.
Player. He's the youngest player to ever play on FC Barcelona's like a level team. Now, I don't remember the impact he had on that team, but it's still impressive that he even played on that team.
Yeah, the physicality of the SEC shouldn't.
It shouldn't be an issue, but you never know, because we thought that with Yelovich last year, and it took him a long time to even just get to being able to somewhat physically compete. Obviously, Big Z struggled a ton, so he shouldn't have any issues. We just don't know. Now, obviously, there were reports coming out that we thought he was committing, and from what I've been able to gather intel-wise, it seems like the biggest holdup has been the second-year contract being signed. Some of that is this kid has no idea where anywhere is in Lexington or in the United States. He has no idea what Kentucky is, what Michigan is, where Gonzaga is. He has no idea. So I think Pope did an amazing job, from what I could gather, of selling him on Kentucky. This is the best. This is the biggest brand, the best fans. All of those things did the Pope, shtick talk about Kentucky. But Michigan kind of came back in the mix. Gonzaga came back in the mix, and they threw some offers out. The negative recruiting started coming in. People saying, hey, that coach might not be there next year. Now, I think Coach Pope will be, whether he's here or not. But it's a fair point, because what if this team flops and Pope isn't here next year and you sign that 2-year deal? Now, I'm sure they can work it out that second year can be voided and he could enter the transfer portal if he had to. But the negative talks have started to come in. Negotiations have started going on. And we also have to remember, when all of this was going on, it was like midnight where this kid is from. So how much of it is just weird recruiting talk? We saw it with Milan. We were sitting on I was on Round of Shots, and the whole Louisville thing was going on crazy. And we were all sitting there like, what the heck's going on? And then obviously a day later, Milan was committed, signed, deal done. So for me, I don't really know what to think of this recruitment. We've seen it a ton. Rando, you've talked about it a ton. The national insiders seem to have zero damn clue what's going on with Kentucky recruiting. Some of the local media guys have a little bit idea. The KSRs of the world, those people, they kind of, some of them can have a little bit of intel, but nobody has been 100% correct on anything Kentucky recruiting for really the last 2 years. So I don't know what to expect. I personally still feel like Kentucky is in the lead. I still feel like we're going to end up getting this kid as where we stand right now. I'm in St. Louis, 10:35 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Could that change tomorrow morning when this kid wakes up? I don't know. We'll see. But right now, it's going to be interesting. He's a hell of a talent. I hope he comes here. It might ruffle some feathers within the locker room. We'll see. I'm just speculating with that. I don't know. But obviously that guard and wing spot's pretty loaded, and you're going to add this kid in. It could shake some things up. Yeah, that's really all I have on my mind right now when talking about him.
So I'll be brief. I think Kentucky still leads as well. The agent talk, agents doing what they do. We've seen it every recruitment. It's not just Pope. It seems like it's just Pope because Kentucky fans are the loudest about it. He's just trying to get a little more meat off the bone, right? That's what agents do. I think from Kentucky's side, they're trying to just completely get away from any second-year transfer portal talk, right? So what can we do to incentivize it? Maybe it's X money year one and then a big old chunk of money year two, right? So like you're playing here, we want you for year two. It's guaranteed to you as long as you accept that money when you turn 18, you sign your deal, and then you're ready to play in the 27-28 season, right? So that incentivizes him, and it makes another team have to offer a big chunk. I've heard for a 2-year deal, $10 to $11 million, right? Mm-hmm. So can a team, if we pay him 3 now and 7 year 2, can a team at that point offer 7 or better to match it? Now, then we have to compete with, well, this team is going to give me even split, and now you have to try to sell Kentucky or try to figure that thing out. I agree with you. Pope has done a good job selling Kentucky, but Williams, like the staff, is doing very well. This seemingly has been in the works since Pope went and flew overseas the first time, and we mentioned it when Trish was on the show. Like, hey, yes, Pope took a big, lick in the media going all the way to Israel and not landing the center, but like there were other stops there, and the big prize was probably hidden behind the curtains, and boom, now the curtain has been revealed. I do agree with you though that dropping this kid in right now when we thought the recruitment was over, roles had kind of been solidified, the locker room is there, the boys seem to be in a good spot. We're already running 5s, and we're seeing who are running where and what's matching offense and defense, and kind of figure out who the starters are going to be. And then you drop this kid in late. I think the expectations have to be clear of like, this is a Braden Hawthorne type play. We're not going to redshirt him because we need him to play, but this is where we're going to develop him. He is 180 pounds. And yes, I know they say he seeks contact and he does well at physicality and he's well above where he should be at 17 years old. But it was talked about on the space that I said I was on. His shot selection as a young kid is terrible, right? He's got a lot of confidence in himself, doesn't do well. We can't be put in this situation in next year. We got 30 games to really solidify ourselves to a tournament team, get a high seed. So is he a 15-minute guy who can then step up and play the wing spot and take over for Milan when he leaves? What is the expectations for this young man coming here? Because I do think there's potentially going to be some unsettled, some frustration, question marks in the locker room, right? I think that's a possibility. I also think that this kid is potentially an insurance policy for big minutes if Cam is unfortunately not where we think he's going to be at the beginning of the season, right? I think there's some worry. We know we put out the clip that he's never going to be 100%. Came from his dad, but he said we're not worried. But now we've seen him on the court, and it seems like the thing kind of gets re-aggravated. Again, speculation, but he shows up not in a boot. He gets on the court. He's in a boot. He comes back up to shoot around. Still, the wording behind the scenes is There's still some uncomfortability there. He doesn't feel right. So is this kid coming in now and trying to get him on a 2-year deal and insurance policy for Cam because he was going to be a big part of this team? We shall see. But I do think you got to go get him. He's such a talented kid. You got to go get him, but you got to be smart with how you incorporate him in this team, right? You don't want a locker room mess. Whether it was true or not last year, the narrative was the locker room just didn't mold, right? If it's moldy and coming together now to be a special team, the one that can really carry Pope into like the expectations we thought he would after year one, you don't want to ruffle, you don't want to muddy those waters up right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this, and I'm not just saying this because their dads have been on the show and whatever, but getting a talent like this probably is the most unfair to a guy like, you know, to the two guys like Braden Hawthorne and Cam Williams. I mean, you know, Cam had a tough decision in the offseason from what his dad said. Like, he juggled coming back to Kentucky and not coming back to Kentucky. I know, you know, Mr. Hawthorne said it as well. Like, they had a couple of thoughts or conversations about like potentially leaving. And both of those guys, they stayed true, and they made it well known they wanted to be back at Kentucky. And they're both, neither of them are the most proven guys. You know, obviously Braden still hasn't played. Cam, obviously completely unfair because of the injury that happened last year. He was playing extremely well before the injury happened. And then when he came back, that's unfair. Throw that out the window. So these two guys, they had loyalty to come back within the program. I haven't seen what's going on behind the scenes, but there's been a lot of talk that Braden has done extremely well in practice, and he's shown a lot of signs, right? We know what Cam can be when he's on, when he's healthy. You know, now that he got his feet wet last year. And so then you're going to throw this kid in. Now, what I'll say is this: it could ruffle some feathers, right? It could have some negative connotation, but what is the number one thing that is the best thing for a team and individual players 99% of the time? Competition. This kid might come in and he might be awesome, and he's going to bring the absolute best out of Cam Williams and Braden Hawthorne every day. And then all three of them turn into being really good because they're all three similar players at the end of the day for the most part. They're all three a little different. They're all three unique, but they're all those 6'8", versatile, unique skill set, shooters, downhill guys, some length, athleticism, defense, you know, not the biggest, strongest, most powerful guys, but they're the unique modern day two or three, and even potentially 4, depending on certain matchups or certain styles with the team. So like you said, Rando, if you're in this recruitment, now it seems like we're that deep in, just go get the kid. Because he's that talented, he's that good, he's going to have an impact on this team one way or another, whether it's as a starter or as a bench player, 10 to 15 minutes, 20, 25 minutes, whatever it may be. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, this is going to be huge for practice because he's hopefully going to embrace and bring out the best in Braden Hawthorne and Cam Williams in practice and make them better. But I think as well, I think the 2-year deal is very important for Pope because of the Braden Hawthorne plan. Now, this kid's not going to redshirt, but because Braden did redshirt, there was the expectation of kind of a 2-year plan. And then Braden obviously, you know, potentially almost maybe left or a slow percentage of it, but it was still, you know, being somewhat talked about. I think Pope wants to make sure that does not happen at all. If this kid does come here, and like there's no way of you getting out of here unless it's like a parting of ways or it's like a, you know, unique situation that the kid wants to leave. So I think that's important, but I hope that this kid does end up at Kentucky, you know, and I feel comfortable as of right now, as we sit here, that he will.
Yeah. I mean, you want talent. I'm not saying push the talent away because you already have guys on the roster. Now, sometimes you have to do that. Yeah. I think there's room on him for the fact that the 2-year deal. If this was a 1-year kind of jump in here, I'd have some reservations about it because of no matter what level of EuroLeague he's playing, I still think there's an adaptation phase to all of it. Culture, practice, school, SEC play, all the things, right? You know, Rupp Arena is going to be one of the biggest audiences he's played against, outside of some of these tournaments. Here's one thing I'm confident in saying. There was speculation last season that there were NBA scouts coming to the building to Rupp Arena early just to watch Braden Hawthorne warm up, see what he was like, asking for practice film just to see how he was doing in his development at Kentucky. I'm confident saying that those things are accurate, right? I'm confident saying that a blue blood school wanted Braden Hawthorne very, very, very bad. And the main reason why Braden Hawthorne is at Kentucky is because he wanted to be at Kentucky. He wanted to see it through. I'm confident to say that there was the ask to get Braden on the roster last year and not continue with the red shirt, and it just didn't make sense. And there was a mutual agreement to like, okay, well, let's do the 2-year plan, right? But he had it in him to do the thing. And I will die on the hill based off of the glimpse I got to see for an hour last night. This kid has it, man. I'm telling you. And I know, T, you'll clown me for practice film, but I'm talking about 5-on-5, best on best Kentucky had to offer, and a player who we would say was one of our better defenders last year, and a player that we really, really enjoyed on this squad last year. Had him in a bind on multiple occasions. And if you just go Google Braden Hawthorne and see what his a scout wrote on him and things he need to work on, right? Can shoot the ball well, mid-range is great, a lot of potential, 6'8", 7'4" wingspan. Can't create for himself, can't get downhill, can't score inside. Great catch and shoot guy, but when it comes off the dribble, breaking somebody down one-on-one, isn't great at it. He's played with elite guards, can't do it. And then I got a glimpse into the things that he was doing last season and the beginning of this season, and he's working on it. So I will die on the hill, and I don't care. Yes, we've had Walter on the show. I'm talking about things that I'm getting from outside the family tree. I will die on the hill that I believe Braden is going to be a key component of next year's team, and I want him going in with the level mindset of hey, this was a 2-year plan. I want to give you the keys. Yes, we're going to have a lot around you. You're not going to be a 35-minute point per game guy, but you're a 20-plus minute per game guy that I'm going to lean on. And when we come to SEC play, you're going to be a sleeper for, all SEC team, carry us in the tournament, because he, like I said, he wanted to be here. He decided to come back here so he could put Kentucky and Pope on his back and carry us back into what we think we should be. So I'll end with that. Tennessee fans, Tennessee panel, Hammer, T, thanks for letting us, Drew and I, go on our Kentucky basketball rant. Yes, it must be nice to already have your team solidified and know what's going. But Kentucky is still dealing with this nonsense. I thought we were done with recruiting. I thought we were done with it.
Late than never. It's better late than never, though.
Yeah. See, I'm getting ready to go like you do and just say, let me know who's playing on the team.
Let me know who to root for, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this stuff is getting crazy. And I was never this deep into the recruiting. It was, the Cal years, we knew we were getting big time guys. You look into them. I would watch the All-American game, John's All-American game every year, but I didn't stress out about it. We just knew we got it. And since we have started doing this thing and all UK ball came to life about 3-4 years ago, it legit takes years off my life, I think. It's just like the way we handle this stuff on the internet is not healthy. And, here we go. We're doing it again.
Well, that sounds like a super exciting volleyball season. So that's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
is that what y'all were on?
Team, women's team looks great. They get that Saudi
Kentucky
Arabian
volleyball also, I
think
they're projected to be a 1 seed this year. Like they're going to be at the top 5 for sure. Women's volleyball, Kentucky. We should definitely talk about it because they were just a little bit away. They were close to winning the Natty last year.
That's our school sport right now.
Whatever it takes. We didn't even talk about the new AD. We're not going to. We're 2 hours into this thing. We're not talking about the new AD. That we'll save that for Saturday. We're going to have Hunter on the show Saturday. Transmission dies on him, so he's dealing with that right now. But hopefully that thing gets fixed. I was going to joke with him, and be like, I don't care about your car. Your computer's not broken. Get your tail on the show. But I figured that was the best response since he gives us his time. So he'll be on here Saturday. Coach Ryan's going to be on here Saturday. It's going to be the last happy hour show for a minute as I travel. So we're going to try to make a big deal of it. We will see you then. Joshy boy, you said you want to come on closer to football season. All right. Whenever you want to get your camera ready, we'll go. You've already been invited. Act like he hasn't been in my DMs. I've talked to him. Don't try to make me feel bad, Joshy boy. We have had the conversation. All right. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Please go follow us on YouTube, Heavy Pour Sports, TikTok, Heavy Pour Sports, Border Rouse HPS on X, and then you see all of our handles on the show here and on the ticker. So appreciate you listening to us. Repost it so folks who didn't stay up late can see it tomorrow. We'd appreciate that. As always, go Cats.
Go Big Blue.
Go Big Orange.
Go Vols.
Peace. Play the music.
On a whole nother level. Let's get it. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. Yeah. Main crew say they weed it. Kicking down the door. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. What? Main crew say they with it. Kicking down the door. Let's go. And it's just the whole lane when I'm driving the machine.